I do not own the rights to this music. Hello, and welcome to Sunday School Summary with Brother Ron. Sunday School lesson for Sunday, April the 6th, 2025. Our reference material for the Sunday School Summary is based upon the International Sunday School Lesson Series as published by the Sunday School Publishing Board. We are discussing Tabernacle Sacrifices and Atonement as the title of the Spring 2025 lesson series. And the lesson series connects the Old Covenant sacrifices and offerings as a bridge to understand the New Testament's understanding of Christ's ultimate sacrifice. The title of our sixth lesson from the Unit 2 Spring 2025 lesson series is titled It Only Takes One, and that is the sacrifice of Jesus Christ for the forgiveness of our sins. The key verse comes from Hebrews chapter 9, verse 24, and it reads, Christ did not enter a sanctuary made with human hands, that was only a copy of the true one. He entered heaven himself, now to appear for us in God's presence. The title of today's lesson, It Only Takes One, from the book of Hebrews, is a letter to a group of Jewish believers on how they should live as Christians in the face of persecution and resistance. The letter addresses God's promise to the Jewish people on how they should live and serve God under the law given to Moses. And under the law of Moses, there were many rules to follow and obey, which resulted in a constant sin and a constant conscience of sin. The writer of Hebrews makes the case that our faith in Jesus Christ has given us a new way to seek purification or forgiveness of sins and reconciliation with God. The writer encourages the Jewish believers to trust God, to trust Jesus and his death on the cross as an eternal sacrifice for our sins, which brings us to today's lesson. There are three summary points for today. The perfect sacrifice from Hebrews chapter 9, verses 23 through 28. Once was enough from Hebrews chapter 10, verses 1 through 4 and 11 through 14. And lastly, the way is made from Hebrews chapter 10, verses 19 through 25. The passages for the lesson today revolve around the key words of faith, wisdom, sacrifice, and tabernacle. And we know that faith is the complete trust, assurance, belief, or confidence in God. It is the faith in Jesus Christ's sacrifice for our sins in today's lesson. Wisdom is the ability to apply experience, knowledge, and understanding to produce good judgment. It is the wisdom to know that we can trust God to do the things that he has promised in today's lesson. Sacrifice is a gift or offering of great value to God. Under the law of Moses, it was an animal that was sacrificed, and under the New Testament, it is Jesus' death on the cross as the ultimate offering for the forgiveness of sin in today's lesson. And tabernacle is a portable tent-like sanctuary, a dwelling place to represent God's presence, and the holy site for the priests to petition God. Christ allowed worshipers to directly petition God for the forgiveness of sins in today's lesson. The first summary point is the perfect sacrifice from Hebrews chapter 9, verses 23 through 28. In these passages, the writer discusses Christ's sacrifice on the cross as the ultimate sacrifice. He said that the tabernacle and the things that were needed for animal blood to make them clean, he says that was a picture of the true place in heaven where people worship God. But the true things in heaven needs a better sacrifice to make them clean other than the sacrifices of animals. And he says that Christ did not go into a holy place that people had made on earth. He says a place that was only a picture of the true heaven. Says Christ went into heaven himself, and he is now there with God and speaks to God on our behalf. He goes on to say that, but when Christ went into heaven to offer himself to God, he did not do it again and again. He says in order to do that, he would need to die again and again, and many times since the world began. He says he appeared just once, and he has appeared now when the time is near. He came and he died as a sacrifice. And he says every person must die once, and after death, God will judge that person. Christ only died once as a sacrifice, and in this way, he took God's punishment for sins. The second summary point is once is enough from Hebrews chapter 10, verses 1 through 4 and 11 through 14. In these passages, Hebrews discusses the sacrifice under the law of Moses versus sacrifice as Jesus shed blood as the perfect sacrifice. And he goes on to say that God's law, which he gave to Moses, are like a shadow of the good things to come, but they did not show what those good things would look like. And he says that the priests must continue to give sacrifices on behalf of the people year after year, but they do not make the people completely clean. And he says if the old rules could do that, then the priests would have stopped offering the sacrifices. And the people that come to God would be completely clean, and they would not have trouble in their minds. He says, but those sacrifices cause people to remember their sins. And he says that sacrifices to God again and again, but those sacrifices can never take away our sins. He says Christ did it once for all time. And after that, he sat down with God to rule with him, and that he will wait for people to win against his enemies, and he will place them under his foot. And so as a result, his one sacrifice, Christ, has made God's people completely clean for all times. Third and final summary point is from Hebrews chapter 10, verses 19 through 25. And these passages, the writer of Hebrew explains why Christians must continue to trust God. He says that, so Christian friends, we see that Jesus died as a sacrifice on our behalf, and because of that, we may go into God's holy place and petition God directly through our faith in Jesus Christ. And he says Jesus opened the way, and he leads us through the curtain into God's most holy place. And Jesus offered that curtain, opened that curtain to us through his sacrifice on the cross. And he says that so we should come near to God, and we should not be afraid. He says, but we must be honest and sincere and continue to trust God. And he goes on to say, our thoughts no longer will give us trouble about our sins when we ask for forgiveness and place our faith in Jesus Christ. And it is like we have been washed clean with water. He goes on to say that we know that we can trust God to do these things that he has promised, and we must tell other people that we trust God. And we should not stop doing that. And we should want everyone to do good things to help one another. And he says we should continue always to meet together and not forsake the fellowship of the saints. This is Brother Ron with the Sunday School Summary for Sunday, April the 6th, 2025. Thank you for watching. Have a blessed week, and we hope to see you next Sunday for another edition of Sunday School Summary with Brother Ron.